Welcome to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined, with your host, the one and only Betsy Tinnervin. On this podcast, we bring you people who share their personal journeys in life, business, and of course, real estate. Get motivated, inspired, and priceless information from entrepreneurs, community leaders, and realtors who are thriving. Now let's get raw and real. Here's Betsy.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin. This show is sponsored by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. The one and only Robert Palmer makes this possible for all the LPT agents out there, as well as members of the community, to share things about life, business, and real estate. We bring you the raw and real of all three attributes. We want to speak to all the entrepreneurs out there, all the community members of Tampa Bay, and of course, all of our LPT agents, as well as any other realtors out there that are looking to potentially get into real estate, find a brokerage they can commit to, or just any buyers, sellers, and investors. Today, my friends, I have two really special guests in the studio. One I know very well, the other one I've gotten to know very well, and we are definitely going to dive deep into not only investing in real estate, but particularly in the vacation rental space, talking all things Airbnbs, vacation rentals, short-term, mid-term, long-term, risk assessment. I have an expert in the field here, and also a bonus, we'll be talking about boutique hotels, buying them, renovating them, and potentially analyzing those deals. So the first person I have with me today is John DeBellevue. How are you, John?
How's it going, Betsy?
I always botch your last name. How did I do this time?
No, you did perfect. DeBellevue.
Awesome. He is an LPT agent. I've actually gotten to know him very well. John specializes in investments. And so, John, tell me a little bit about why investments. Like, why is that your niche focus?
Well, I think there's a high demand in the investment space. There's so many people looking to get into real estate investing, and having a knowledgeable realtor who can help you analyze properties, figure out what areas to look in, what the type of demographic is there, is so important. So I'm here to be an asset and a value to the people who are needing that and looking to get into the investing realm.
I have loved working with you, talking with you. You're all over Facebook, posting deals. I think what's really important, John, is just the listeners to understand that when you're buying a residential property, you definitely need to have a representation as a buyer with a buyer's agent. Obviously, buyers do not pay commission to us, the sellers do. So why is it really important for the listeners out there to understand why they need a realtor to represent them on an investment property?
Well, an investment property purchase is going to be just like if you were purchasing your own home. You're going to need a lot of things done as far as the process, from contract writing to inspections. You want to make sure that that home's going to pass appraisal. So again, being able to have someone who's going to guide you through looking in the right areas, making sure you're going to get a return on your investment, making sure that that's going to be the right demographical area for you to rent to. There are a number of factors that the average person may not have time to go through and analyze. And so having a realtor there to assist you and break that stuff down for you is really the value.
Well, and listeners, later on in the show, we're going to go dive deep with John on actually all the steps that an agent takes when they're selling an investment property. Because when you're buying a single family residential home that is not really necessarily an asset, it's where you're going to live, you can turn it into an asset and leverage debt. However, an investment property, there's lots of steps that people don't think about. So John, I'm going to come back to you later in the show, and listeners, definitely stay tuned, because those steps are critical when looking at your first investment property or adding to your investment portfolio. The other guest I have for you today, surprise, surprise, she came all the way from Orlando, Florida, Miss Stacy Conti. How are you, Stace?
Hello, I'm great.
Stacy Conti, I've known for a very long time. Everyone knows that her and I are all over Facebook as Sugar and Spice Developments, but she's actually become a really good friend of mine. And Stace, let's remind them exactly how we met.
So we met when Betsy was the listing agent on the first multifamily property that I purchased post-divorce. I was excited to jump into real estate and take a deeper dive. and found this awesome 10-unit apartment building, and Betsy was the listing agent. I had a buyer's agent, not as impressive. After the transaction closed, I just kept thinking about like all of the talent and skills that she had that I wanted to learn, and we reconnected.
So I think it's important for agents to know that that's how networking works. When you really do a really great job, you will get clients. And, you know, obviously the goal of us agents is to keep ethical. We're not out to steal other people's clients. But I did work with Stacy on multiple transactions after that. And one of the transactions I was not even getting paid on, she just called and asked me for my advice. So now Stacy is kind of blown up to be a hot commodity. She has tons of followers on Facebook. She really sticks to the Airbnb and boutique hotel space. So really, Stacy, I kind of want to know, and I want you to tell the listeners out there, why is that your niche focus?
It's where my passion is. I love the hospitality side of Airbnbs. I loved the guest experience. I travel often and I'm a guest. I have small children, and anywhere I go, it's always important to me that we're making memories and everything is memorable, and it's not just a room where we're sleeping in, it's a place where we're creating memories. So I like to provide that for my guests.
I love the factor that what I've seen happen in your investment portfolio is you have stepped out and grown. So really, the first couple multifamilies you purchased, they were multifamily long-term tenants. And then you had the win with Indian Rocks, which we'll talk a little bit about deeper, which was a quadplex. And then after you did Indian Rocks, you did another little duplex and some other things. You've actually maxed out all of the residential loans that you can have.
Yes.
Is it 12?
I've lost track.
I thought it was 12 or 15, but she maxed those out, and then you actually decided to get into the hotel space. So tell the listeners a little bit about how you've expanded your investment portfolio, what was important to you, and your thought process on that.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been very open-minded about deals. So obviously we all want to make money. That's why we're investing. So I started with multifamily. It's a very solid investment asset class. And as I branched out, when opportunities came up, I just always kept an open mind to look at deals. I'll get approached by wholesalers or agents. What kind of deals do you look for? What's your buy box? And if it makes money, it's in my buy box. So branching out and exploring Airbnb is just really how I fell in love with it, and fell in love with vacation rentals is by just keeping an open mind to explore other opportunities.
I also think that the biggest thing that people ask is like, okay, what about the risk? Like we had COVID, this, that, and another. So what would you say to people that are doubting vacation rentals when they're buying an investment property?
There's a risk in any investment that you make. So being prepared and underwriting the property is what's most important. You can buy a multifamily property and it's risky. You can buy a single family home and it's risky if you're not managing it properly and you're not buying properly. So that's where having a great agent comes in, right? Because we want to buy smart to minimize risk.
And I think, John, that's, again, what we're going to talk about with more information later on. But how do you feel about the vacation rental space, John? Like, what are your thoughts out there if people are thinking about buying and they have concerns? I think that it's also not if they have concerns, but like, why do you feel it's a good way for people to get into the investment space?
I mean, having a diverse portfolio is super important. Relying on one asset class is the most risky thing that you can do. If you look at anybody who's successfully invested, they have their asset classes diversified through different types of real estate as well as other asset classes. So
I think you just nailed it.
Yeah.
I think that's
short-term rentals cash flow the most.
I also think that we'll go dive deep when we actually analyze short-term rentals in the next segment, Stacy, on how we do analyze them with long-term rents. To mitigate risk.
Very important.
For sure. John, if people are looking to connect with you in the world as an LPT investment specialist, could you give them your information?
Yeah, you can reach out to me by phone or text 813-550-5613.
And Miss Stacy Conte. Stacy can be found on Facebook. Her first name is STACEYCONTE. She is on Facebook. She's also under Sugar and Spice Developments. But Stacy, could you give everyone your phone number, please?
904-563-3462.
We are so happy that everyone is listening with us today. We couldn't be more excited to bring you the raw and real of life, business, and real estate. More information to come in segment 2. We are going to walk you through the 3 steps that you need to consider when buying an Airbnb property. Literally give you all the gems. We're also going to talk about what agents do when they're analyzing these properties and how we look at the analysis front to back on purchasing a vacation rental versus a long-term rental. There's going to be several more nuggets to come. We are going to actually tell you how you can become a Superhost, an Airbnb Superhost, how to gain that status. Also, how Stacy can help you for free to gain that status in your portfolio. So all the agents out there that may need to use her as a resource, anyone looking to buy an Airbnb property or someone that currently owns one can contact her, and she can literally get you from A to F, skyrocket your business in the Airbnb space. We appreciate all of our loyal listeners. We want you to download the iHeartRadio app, pop in those earbuds, and we will catch you after the break.
The best comp plans ever and stock and revenue share, but if we're not closing real estate transactions, all of that is worthless, because ultimately everything starts with a real estate transaction, which starts with a consumer. And so we wanted to arm our agents with the absolute best technology and best marketing tools to do more real estate. And that's, again, I think a big differentiator. I think very few brokerages really sit down and say, how do we provide tools to make sure that our agents can be more productive, sell more real estate, win more listings, win at more listing appointments, help more buyers find that home. And we're very focused on that. And so while we have the best comp plans and the best ways for agents to generate wealth and earn, we also have the best tools, and more importantly, I would say have the best tools to help you be successful in real estate.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin, bringing you the raw and real of life, business, and of course, real estate. We are here sponsored by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. This is the All-Star Show where we feature the top-notch agents with LPT Realty. We also bring in members of the community to give you tips and tricks that all associate with real estate. Today, we have John DeBellevue. He is our LPT agent. He is a specialist in the investment space. John and I actually work closely together. We eat and breathe investments. And we are honored to have Stacy Conti all the way from Orlando, Florida, who is an Airbnb Superhost, boutique hotel investor. She is here to give all the tips and tricks. And what's great about this show is you have an agent and an investor on the same show, kind of going back and forth, talking about why it's important and what they look for. We might have a little bit of a battle in segment 3, so you don't want to miss that. So I know what we promised you in segment 1 was we were going to have Stacy give us the top 3 things to do when buying an Airbnb property.
So the number one thing you want to do is to underwrite your property with long-term rents. So we want to make sure that the asset at least covers the debt when we have long-term renters in there. So this is sort of a backup plan. The second thing that we want to do is adjust the taxes and the insurance, because both of those are likely to go up. So we want to make sure that the numbers still work with the adjusted taxes and insurance. And then the third thing we want to do is look at the municipality to make sure that the zoning and the city allows for short-term rentals, so you're not playing in a gray area where they could shut you down.
I think that no one else says it better than you. And I know that I might be biased, but what do you think, John?
No, it's said amazingly.
I think that those 3 things are critical. And so I want to back up a little bit, because the infamous question that people always ask is, where can you find the information to find out if something is a legal Airbnb or a short-term rental?
You may have to be a little bit of a detective. So you have to call the city. You might want to join the local Facebook groups. It may be allowed in the city, but take it a step further. Go in those Facebook groups, go knock on your neighbor's door, see what the feel is. Is the city welcoming of this, or is it just allowed? Because that's going to also play into your experience and your guest experience. If you're getting phone calls because you're getting reported for every little loud noise, that's going to be a headache. So ask the city, but then also take it a step further and do your own homework.
And I think the bottom line is there is no website, no anything out there that actually tells you yes or no.
No, because it's so complicated. I have a property that's in a city, but it's not in the city limits. So it's run by the county, not the city. So it's actually allowed, where if it was inside the city limits, it would not be allowed. So there's so many nuances that you want to call the city and give the address, not just ask a general question.
So I think that it's cool that you're telling people you have to call the city. For all the agents out there, for all the potential investors out there, there's no website, there's no guarantee. You need to physically call the city, and you could even take it a step further, and whoever you speak with the city, have them email you something in writing to then solidify the answer. So I'm going to head to you, John, because as we break down these 3 steps, step 1 was analyzing long-term rents on a property that we think we're going to make it an Airbnb. How do we do that? What's our process as an agent?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we do as agents is generally go into the area. We're going to look for rental comps and figure out what the average long-term rental is going for in that area. We're going to look at leased as well as active. And then from there, we're going to determine the average rental price, apply that to the subject property based on the comparison, square footage, beds and baths, etc. And then we basically have our diagram of what we're going to be able to rent out for.
Nailed it. I mean, you and Stacey are just so easy. You just kill it. You crush it. So yeah, what's really cool about this is, as an agent, and any agent out there looking to get into investments, we do offer a free class, lunch and learn. It's called Investment Analysis. Stacey also offers a short-term rental class. She's going to be coming out with those calendars again. I know there was standing room only in the investment analysis class the other day for LPT in Tampa. And I know that Stacey's short-term rental classes with Sugar and Spice Developments, the tickets have been entirely sold out. Those are both coming back. But as far as today on the radio, John, I think what's really critical is talking about the active, pending, and leased. So we look at all of those, we analyze those, and now we're going to go to step 2, which would be resetting, Stacey, the taxes and the insurance, because now we have what the asset can produce as income. What happens when we reset the taxes and the insurance?
Your deal doesn't look as good. No, but really, it could kill the deal. We've looked at deals and the numbers all make sense. You know, we go to look at the property, and then when we actually plug in the new numbers, it kills the deal. Yep. It eats up all of your cash flow. So an important thing to do is just do that right off the bat, because it'll save you time. So you can go on the property appraiser's website to adjust the taxes, and then connect with whoever you use for insurance to get you an insurance quote. If it's a short-term rental, make sure you're getting a short-term rental quote, that they're not quoting you for long-term rental. That's important. It will make the cost even higher, but it's very important to have the proper coverage.
So basically, when we're looking at resetting the taxes, I know that prior to working with me, you worked with other agents, and what they did was they handed you an MLS sheet, and they said, here you go, Stacey, here's what the taxes are. Why is that wrong?
So the taxes are based off of what the current owner is paying for taxes. And they likely bought at a much lower price. If they've owned it for years and years, that price could be really a lot lower. And it can only be raised a certain amount every year. So with the sale of the property, it triggers the taxes to be reset. So the taxes could double, triple sometimes. So you may have been paying $5,000. That's what's on their cute little flyer. Now they're $15,000. And it just eats away at your cash flow.
So when you're looking at that analysis spreadsheet that we use, John, when we're analyzing investment properties, it's so critical to plug in the proper numbers. So step 1, we analyze long-term rents. Step 2, we reset the taxes. And now, Stacey, I will come back to you to step 3, which you said contact the city and go to the local neighborhood to see what's surrounding you. So I know that when you've asked me as an agent to go out and look at a property, which Stacey's portfolio is wide, so she's not always within 5 minutes of something that she buys. I usually drive by and see if there's other multifamilies, short-term rentals around, and therefore we know right off the bat, if we do have a neighbor that's lived there 25 years, they're obviously accepting of that. But just explain to people what you expect an agent to do and what you do as a potential owner of that property.
I like to work with Betsy and kind of put our heads together and come up with a plan to make sure we're doing all of our due diligence. But I like the agent to be involved in that process, especially in the beginning stages of me building my portfolio. I didn't know what I didn't know. So one of the early mistakes I made that I was paying for up until a couple months ago was buying actually a multifamily property next to a neighbor that was just a pain and made our life very difficult.
Sure did. We were glad to sell that one. And just for the record, that was prior to me being her agent, so I did not know about that. But I agree, yeah.
It was something I learned, like, meet your neighbors, because if they don't like your property, whether it's a short-term rental, a long-term rental, whatever the reason is, if they're just an angry neighbor, that could make your life difficult. So it's not always just even the property, it's about your community.
100%. And I think, John, as an agent, we have a due diligence to do that for our clients. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think something that really separates somebody who's an investment specialist from just a residential agent is the fact that we do generally get a lot more involved in that due diligence process because we want to make sure that our investor is going to see a return on that property.
I can't tell you how many people I see on Facebook post, hey, I just closed on this property and now I just found out I can't short-term rental it. And it blows my mind that an agent wouldn't help do that due diligence for their client and that they would sell them something that they either didn't look into or just flat out knew it couldn't be done.
Right. You have agents who don't even participate in the due diligence process and they're misinforming their clients all the time.
Well, John, if someone doesn't want to be misinformed and they want to work with you, how can they get in contact with you as an LPT investment specialist realtor?
Absolutely. You can give me a call or text me at 813-550-5613.
And Miss Stacy Conte, her name is Stacey. Last name is Conte, found on Facebook and under Sugar and Spice Developments. How can they get in contact with you?
904-563-3462.
If you are not listening today, I am sad to say that I am thoroughly impressed by these two. They have literally answered every question that I have asked with confidence and just intelligence. They both are so seasoned. I'm honored to have them both here. Coming up in segment 3, we are going to give you all the nuggets of how to become an Airbnb superhost and how you can utilize Stacy for free to get that status. Also, John is going to tap back in on why Airbnb investments are so great in the Tampa Bay area. Do not forget to download that iHeartRadio app. We are going to catch you after the break.
Biggest win, I think, with the dual path and having these two models is that now we become a brokerage for everyone. No matter where you are in your real estate career or what your goals are today, maybe today you're not interested in recruiting or having a team, but then one day you wake up and you are. Well, if you're at the wrong brokerage to do that, you're locked in. Where in our model, we're not holding anyone hostage. We're not tying anyone in. You can move between the different comp plans and have that success and really achieve whatever your definition of success is under one brokerage platform, being LPT.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin, bringing you the raw and real of life, business, and real estate. We are powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. The one and only Robert Palmer makes this possible for everyone who is an LPT realtor. You are featured on billboards. You have radio airtime. He knows how to make every agent out there feel special, welcomed, and helps them find their purpose in real estate by authentically advertising who they are. If you want to go authentic, I have the most authentic agent here, John DeBellevue, LPT agent, investment specialist. John focuses on his niche, and as he has told you throughout the show, the importance of having a realtor that knows investments is critical. But John takes it a step further, and he actually knows more about Airbnb, short-term rentals, and vacation rentals. I also have Stacy Conte here, came all the way from Orlando, Florida. She is an Airbnb superhost, multifamily investor, vacation rental owner, as well as a boutique hotel investor. She has done it all, my friends. And actually, I've really watched her do this, and I've never said this, in a 2-year time period. So we have done this for the last 4 or 5 years together, agent and client. But really over the last 2 years, she has skyrocketed her investment portfolio. And the one nugget we promised you from Miss Stacy was, how do you become an Airbnb Superhost. So Stacy's going to give us 3 things that get you to Airbnb Superhost status.
All right. Number 1 is the guest experience. This is what it all boils down to. Number 2 is hosting enough, making sure you don't cancel reservations. That plays a big factor into the guest experience. And number 3, the most important, are your reviews. If you don't have a 5-star review, it's bad. 4 is no good.
I love that. And I also want you to tell everyone out there, if you are a new Airbnb owner or thinking about being an Airbnb owner, how can you legitimately help them for free?
I can help you get started on Airbnb if you don't have an account. If you need to buy a property, these 2 can help you. But if you already have a property and you want to get started, Airbnb will pay me to help you. So you can shoot me a message, shoot me a Facebook message, text, whatever, and I can help you get your account started, get your listing going, and all of the pearls that you need to be successful.
So how does that exactly work? Explain to them. A lot of people hear free 99, I can help you for free, and then you're going to upsell them on some course or some product. Give it to them raw and real what that is like. Why does Airbnb pay you? What is the analytics behind it?
So I send you a referral link. It's just like when you refer a friend, places will give you a kickback. That's what happens. After the person that I refer hosts their first guest, Airbnb pays me a fee for helping them get started.
That is like awesome.
It is.
So then how do you, once they start, do you help them like get to Superhost status? Is there like extra charges for that? Like kind of explain that process.
That is all in the setup. So Airbnb actually makes it very simple to track your progress, to track whether you're a Superhost or you're on the way to being a Superhost. And I'm more than happy to help with that.
So if anyone is interested, if you are a current Airbnb owner or you are thinking about being an Airbnb owner and helping with your platform, Stacy, throw out your cell phone number so they can shoot you a text.
904-563-3462.
So obviously, John, I'm going to turn to you as an agent because there's a lot of different things that we do, right? We help investors buy properties that are add value, which means they need to maybe renovate or they need to adjust something with the property to add value, which means we want to charge more for rents, long-term or short-term, to add value to the asset. Also, by adding value, it allows it to appreciate and you get more equity in the property if you're adding value because now it is more valuable. So let's talk to the listeners a little bit of you as an agent. How do you direct and guide your clients when you're analyzing these deals on what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done to obviously add value to the property?
Right. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. First thing being going through different areas and figuring out if they've maxed out on their after repair value. So that's a really big thing. People don't realize when you are buying investment properties, you can buy in areas that have already maxed out their value. And so you want to be looking for areas that are going through gentrification, that are going through a lot of renovation. You're seeing other homes being renovated. You're seeing a lot of new construction, and then getting into the comps. So making sure that you're getting your investment property below value. So you want to be picking up a flip or a remodel anywhere from 50 to 65% below value. And that needs to be in comparison to the sold comps of comparable properties after renovation.
I also think that what's really important, John, that I see all the time with flippers is Stacey and I have this conversation with our contractors all the time. If your neighbors have laminate countertops, like you don't need quartz. So when you're looking at those comps, John, give them tips and tricks of what not to do to over improve a property.
Yeah, so the biggest mistake that I see is people dumping money in the wrong areas of a home. While the bathroom and kitchen are really important, and that's generally the first thing that people look at, you don't want to over absorb too much cost into those areas. Focusing on maybe doing cabinets and fixtures, updating the counter with an epoxy can be a lot more affordable than doing a granite. And then also sticking to affordable tile or laminate options for flooring and things like that can really make a property pop.
Don't underestimate the value of a chandelier.
Oh, Lord. Stacey, listen, the last
Fixtures are big. Fixtures are a big
I know, but
factor.
John, listen, the last flip we just did, I said, Stacey, are we on budget? She said, yeah, we're a little over on light fixtures. I said, how much money, Stace? She said $1,000 over on light fixtures.
But wait till you see them.
They are good. And I do think that it's accurate. You know, what's so fun about talking to you guys is it's 3 different perceptions, right? You know, what's great with working with someone like Stacey on the development space with Sugar and Spice Developments is we have a different opinion. Obviously, John, you and I are looking at resale value. She is looking at it from a buyer's perception. She's looking at it from an investor's perception. And that's where I did want to come back to you, Stacey, feeding off what John just said, over improving, but also looking at a customer's standpoint. So even tying in with this Airbnb, you said the experience. What are your thoughts on over improving, under improving, what agents need to, you know, just fly? Give me some knowledge.
In Airbnb, durability is really important. So spending money on some of those items where they're going to last, because your unit may take a beating. Of course, it's being cleaned and maintained, and we all do that, but these are units that may be taking a beating. But some areas where you can really stand out, I like to use these wall murals. They're these panels from the Society 6, and you put them up on your whole wall, and it just makes the room pop. It transforms you. There's endless amounts of artwork on there, and it's actually local art, or not local artists, but real artists that upload their art, and then you can get it placed on anything from like a pillow to a table or your wall mural, and it just makes the room pop, and you feel like you're in another space. It doesn't feel like home. It feels unique.
Also, I think the thing that you could tell people that would be really helpful is, what are the things to not do to over improve a multifamily investment or an Airbnb investment? What should they not do?
Don't improve things that don't need improvement. So if you don't like your countertop, it's a black granite, and you really want a white granite, leave it. It's functional. Those are things that we want to avoid. If it's fully functional, it's nice, it's just not necessarily maybe your taste, it may be someone else's taste. So unless you're going for a very specific buyer where you have to do an improvement like that, leave well enough alone.
I think that that's really great advice for the people out there. And I think, John, you nailed it as well. And when you're looking at those comps, that's the job of the agent to guide the buyer or investor on what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, we're going through the photos from previous listings of those comps and actually checking the interior details, room sizes, lighting fixtures. Does the home have a pool or not? From there, we're comparing it, and we're either subtracting or adding value to our subject property, and we're determining where can we improve this to max the value in this particular neighborhood.
If anyone wants to have an awesome LPT investment specialist, John, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can call or text me, 813-550-5613, or just Google me and find me on Instagram.
If anyone wants a Airbnb Superhost amazing experience getting started with Airbnbs, or maybe freshening up their current Airbnb page, Stacey, how can they get in touch with you?
904-563-3462.
I am so happy to bring this knowledge in. It's just, it's $1 million gems. These guys are just dropping nuggets just left and right, giving you all the things, investments, everything from multifamily, short-term rental, vacation rental. We're going to come back with information. Everybody likes to talk about success, but they don't like to talk about failures. They don't like to talk about the problems that can occur with investments. Stacey, John, and myself are going to speak lots of knowledge, even give you a current situation that Stacey has right now with a short-term rental that has an issue. There's a problem with the city. She has to pivot and turn and make some hard decisions as an investor. We're going to come back with that knowledge. You are not going to want to miss it. Download the iHeartRadio app. Pop in your earbuds, whether you're at work, home, doing laundry, whether you're supposed to be listening or not. We hope that you are with us. We'll catch you after the break. Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin, and I bring you the raw and real of life, business, and of course, real estate. We are powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. The one and only Robert Palmer has made this possible for all LPT agents. If you're an LPT agent looking to get on the show, if you're a community member and you have nuggets, tips, and tricks to give, and you want to partner up with LPT Realty, please now go to our LPT Realty Radio All-Star Facebook page, where we're going to be posting all the clips from previous shows, pictures, everything, recaps, all the nuggets, shorts. We're going to have a platform where if you feel like, man, I just missed that show and I want to reconnect, or I want to find out what Betsy was talking about with these LPT agents, you're going to be able to do instant replays. We obviously have several shows that we're editing, but again, it is the LPT All-Star Radio Facebook page. Become a follower and you can re-listen and get a recap. I have John DeBellevue, real estate agent with LPT Realty. He specializes in investment properties with me today. I also have Stacy Conti all the way from Orlando. She is an Airbnb Superhost, multifamily investor, Airbnb specialist, vacation rental specialist, and a boutique hotel owner. We have promised you we are going to wrap up the show today by telling you we've told you all the great things about investments and Airbnbs, but now we're going to dive deep into what happens. What happens when you buy an investment property? Maybe you did not have an agent that was a specialist. Maybe you miscalculated. You didn't know what to do. Maybe you over improved and you're not getting the value. We're going to start with John, a multifamily investment specialist agent. John, what would you suggest if I'm an investor right now? Looking at my cash flow, it's not good. I have problems. The situation's bad. I need to reach out to you. What do I say? What do I do?
So if you're in that position, then you need an exit strategy. So what we need to figure out is, how are we going to formulate an exit strategy for you? Is it going to be selling, refinancing, raising the rents? How are we going to do that? And what's the most effective way to do it?
I agree. I think as an agent, I think people are afraid when they're in a bad spot to reach out and ask for help. And I think you start, because agents, we're not attorneys. We don't have consultation fees. We are free 99. So if you are looking to connect with an agent, you should reach out to someone like John, who can sit down with you and go, okay, what did you purchase this for? What have you done? Do you have professional property management in place? Have you added value to the property, et cetera, and go from there. Thoughts, John?
Yeah, so we need to look at where you've done improvements, like you said. We need to look at how long you've owned the property, what you owe on it, and again, what are the exit strategies here? So are we going to hold on to the property? Do you want to let it go? What are you thinking about?
I think that it's one of those things where you actually have to dive deep with the client. First of all, like, are they passionate about the property? Is there any type of emotional attachment? If there's not emotional attachment, we strictly bought it as an investment and we're cash flowing. Sometimes with Airbnbs, people buy it because they want to travel to that place with their family. So it's not just an asset. It is something that they also use personally as well. So I love those tips and tricks, John. I think that's amazing. If somebody wants to connect with you, John, we're going to give your number with your final thoughts. Stacy, I'm going to turn to you. I know that everybody talks about all of the great things, and I know that you did a great job in the beginning pointing out risk when buying investments. What do you do as an investor, and what are you dealing with right now when it comes to problems with investment properties?
Well, there's really never a dull moment. But right now, one of my top performing, well, I'll talk about two. My top performing vacation rental, Hurricane Ian hit, so that's completely shut down right now under renovation. But my second best performing vacation rental, the city is now basically under attack. There are the local residents that have thrown a fit in Indian Rocks Beach. I know we're in this market, so call the city, tell them not to shut down short-term rentals. The residents are really causing a big issue over the short-term rentals, and there's no way for them to shut them down because there's laws in place, but they're looking at putting restrictions in place that are just so ridiculous that if you leave your trash can out and you forget to bring it in, it's a $5,000 a day fine. So they're making it so challenging for investors to run these properties as short-term rentals. And I think it's just so silly. I don't think they realize the economic impact that this is going to have on the entire community. You're going to shut down your local restaurants. It's going to impact your boat rentals, your kayak rentals, your gift shops. And then, of course, everyone knows As an investor, if I'm making $10,000, $15,000 a month on my property doing short-term rental, if I pivot to long-term rental and now I'm making 5 or 6, that's less money I have into improving the property, keeping the property in nice condition, maintaining the exterior. So it's not necessary.
100%. I think that what listeners want to know is like, okay, you have these issues with these properties. I do want to back up to the one that got hit by Ian was the boutique hotel. And you did kind of pivot.
And Fort Myers.
Oh, and Fort Myers. Fort Myers got demolished. So you had to pivot with the Daytona property. And what you actually did was hired a really good insurance adjuster. And how did that work?
On both of them, I did. So I've been able to collect insurance checks now where I can go back and actually improve the property to the same, if not better condition, and collect loss of rent on the property. So while I'm shut down, I'm getting the income that the property would have been bringing in. So 2 really important factors there. So having good insurance coverage, as much as that eats into our cash flow, when you need it, it's really important.
And I think that goes back to step 2 that you were talking about in the beginning, what needs to be analyzed. Again, if your agent and the investor do not know the correct insurance person to have on your team, then again, you would not have received those checks and you just would have been at a loss.
Right. And that happened to a lot of people.
A lot of people. The other thing I think that we should conclude with is that this state, John, attracts investors and people that want to live here, which is awesome. We're the 3rd metro market in the country, but we also thrive off tourism. And where do tourists want to stay? They want to stay in vacation rentals so they get the experience. What do you think is going to happen, John, if we don't have those, if we don't have short-term rentals? Like, how do you think that's going to affect Tampa Bay area, period?
I think to back up Stacy, it's going to economically affect the Bay Area greatly. Our economy here and our local businesses thrive on tourism. We're very season dependent in Florida. So we have a lot of snowbirds who come down here for about 6 months out of the year. We also have a lot of tourists and vacationers who come for their long-term vacations, and they're spending extended periods of time in the Tampa Bay area and other beach markets, and they're spending extensive amounts of money, which is helping to stimulate and support our local economy. So if you put in too many enforcements and too many regulations and you drive out the investors who are only really wanting to help stimulate the local economy and provide experiences for people, then you're going to see a really large downturn, I think, in the growth of what's happening here.
Those snowbirds don't want to come down and stay in a motel. They want to have a kitchen. They want to have a patio, a backyard, a pool. They want to have their own private little home.
So, Stacy, we have loved having you on the show today. And what are your final thoughts?
Call Indian Rocks Beach and tell them not to shut down short-term rentals.
I love that. I love that. But if anyone really wants to connect with you, I know that you're so open-minded. You have such a great heart and you are really passionate about investing. If somebody wants to get their Airbnb status to Superhost, if they just want knowledge, if they want expertise, maybe they want to come to the classes that you teach, give them your contact information.
Yeah, definitely. I love helping. I always asked for help when I was starting in my investing career, so I like to give back. 904-563-3462.
And John de Bellevue, if someone wants to contact you in regards to anything investments, could you give them your phone number, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to call or text me at 813-550-5613.
We also want to make it known that we do have the Invest Tour coming up in January 14th, held at Crossover Church. You can find tickets on Eventbrite. It is the Overcome and Invest Tour for $79. You get a full day. You'll be connected with over 20 vendors. You can literally start your investment portfolio at Crossover Church. January 14th, $79 from 9 to 5 p.m. We are all going to be there. There's going to be an LPT Realty booth. There's going to be vendors from contractors, business analysts, business credit, capital lenders, everything real estate is going to be there. So if you want tickets to the Overcome Invest Tour, you can also text me at 813-609-0229. We want to thank LPT Realty for making this show possible. John and Stacy, you guys have been fabulous, amazing. Every single thing I asked you, I couldn't even throw you a curveball. You guys were just great. If anyone wants to connect with John and Stacy and you did not catch their number, please connect with me. I will get you connected. We appreciate all of our avid listeners out there. Everyone download that iHeartRadio app, pop in your earbuds, listen to us on both of our radio stations. We appreciate you. And again, I want to conclude with everybody in Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, Cape Coral. We know that the hurricane has happened. It's been several months, but we hear you. We're with you in Tampa Bay. We hope that you're rebuilding and staying in good spirits. Again, conclusion of our show for today, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. We hope this episode motivated and inspired you. And don't forget to rate and review us. Thanks again for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast with Betsy Tinervin.